to our forward folds. We're still working head and neck. Spine is nice and low. So feet in the center of the mat, we fold at the hip flexors. Ooh, la la. And then we're just going to clasp the hands together, feet hip distance, feet in the center of the mat. Really good. All right. Whew. So even here, you can see why this is so good for the head and neck, right? Already. It's like, oh yeah. So there's a couple different modifications that I like to do in this pose. Holding on to the elbows is the number one, but then I like to clasp the hands behind the back of the neck again. So it's almost like people are doing self-YOGASSAGE, right? And so in this position, chin is tucked into the chest, but we're pulling straight down. So straight down, raspberry, not towards the ground, just straight down. So pull your elbows in a little bit more, yeah, like that. And tuck your chin in, go straight down. Pull your elbows in just a little, that's too much. Yeah, there. Neutral, right? Heather, can you see the difference? Doesn't that look different? Okay, so everybody's a little bit different. Like some people need to come in, some people need to go out. We just need to try to find that sweet spot in our own bodies. Now when I'm rocking from side to side here, everybody rock from side to side, I try pulling one elbow down towards the ground and then the other in the rocking position, and that actually creates a little bit of twist and turn in the neck. So pulling straight down, not rocking from side to side. I'm rocking from side to side, but then I pull one elbow down and then the other elbow down. Yeah. So down towards the ground, not towards your ankles. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So you feel the difference when you do that? It's kind of lengthening through one side of the neck and then the other as you continue to rock from side to side. Yes?
Yes.
Feeling it? Awesome. So that's, again, in the forward fold. The emphasis on the neck and shoulders changes everything about the pose. And then let's come into, so release nice and slow. Let's bring our hands to the ground. Drop into your forearms by walking your feet to the back of the mat. Come into our floating leaf. Now all of this, of course, is going to be a review when we go over these poses, but at the same rate, we're going to just create that emphasis on which part of the body are we benefiting. So even in floating leaf, with the forearms down, we shake out our hair, we shake out our head, we shake out our thoughts, and you can feel gravity doing its job. You can feel gravity doing the work. And then you can also feel, of course, how even though the emphasis is on the upper back and the upper body, the lower back and the legs and the whole spine is benefiting from this pose. So really, our supported headstand is for all parts of the body. We're going to interlace the fingers, make sure your elbows are pulled in underneath the shoulders, so you create an equilateral triangle with your arms, equilateral. Okay? Then when we bend the knees, we're not going to hook, we're just going to bend the knees. So when your head comes down, this is why this is so good for the head, there's like 2 ounces of weight on the top of the head. Depending on the position of the knees, like there's almost no pressure on the cranial bones, right? We get to decide by the position of our legs how much weight we have on the top of the head, yet we're getting all the benefits of a headstand without any strain. Shoulders are relaxed, so more than normal, you're letting your shoulders ride up to your ears, yeah. You're just letting everything kind of hang. So let your shoulders relax more, Heather. Just let them drop. See how they're kind of pulling up your back? Go ahead and let them drop towards your ears more. Pull your knees down towards the earth. There you go. That's it. That's it. Do you feel the difference? Now you're relaxed. So we can be engaged in our headstand, which we're usually doing. But in this particular pose, we're really letting the weight drop into the crown of the head and the whole upper body just kind of sink in. And you'll feel things start to shift, particularly in the upper thoracic spine. All right, so what we're going to do here is emphasize the activation of the pineal gland. So in this pose, what I like to do is push the crown of the head into the floor. Not that the ground is pressing back because my weight is there, but I want to just feel like the pineal is being activated by connecting to the crystalline core. So just see if the very crown of the head, the soft spot there, can start to connect to the circuitry of the earth. And then in this position, you'll start to feel the movement, an exchange of energy with the crystalline core, with that divine essence that has the intelligence at the core. And then that is connecting to our brain function, and the pineal being the master cell and activator of the endocrine system. Beautiful, guys. Okay, great. Come on out. We're just going to straighten our legs down towards the ground. We start to float again. We land it walking through a down dog, right? So once we're in down dog, we're still in an inversion here. Down dog with the swing, holding the sit bones up. There's no pressure on the upper body. This is where we start opening up the upper thoracic spine, as well as the back of the legs. And then we can inhale, arch, and pull forward, and we're going to walk out. And when we walk out, we come through angel wings. We come to stand. So again, emphasizing the neck and head, and the connection to the forward fold. This is not new information, but it is also, I think, enlightening when we really do focus on how the head and the pineal and the cranial bones and all the reasons why, bending the knees and just letting ourselves kind of float in that one. When our feet are hooked in that pose, it's much more intense, much more engaged, still easy, still suitable for beginners, but just floating is the one that I would do for neck and head release, because most people with neck injuries, the first thing they tell me is they're not going to do a headstand. And it's nice for them to feel like they can do some sort of headstand here where it actually relieves the neck, shoulders, okay? Hammock. Should we go over hammock? Yeah, why not? Okay, swing us behind the back. From sumo squat, we're going to get into our floating Buddha. Let's just do the half Buddha with the left leg extended. So when I do one leg at a time, I call it the half Buddha sequence. I changed the names for the new manual, so it's a little bit clearer how to describe like an entire sequence. So the one leg version of floating Buddha, I call the half Buddha sequence. Okay, great. Now from here, we're going to get both legs in. Now you guys know how to spread everything out, right? Since we're doing restorative and therapeutics, it's so nice to get the leg loop from the arch of the foot all the way to the calf for a little bit more support, right? So whenever we're doing therapeutics, we can spread everything out. More dynamic strength happens when things are bunched up because we have to be more engaged. So the extra leg loop immediately goes behind the head. And we're going to stay here because we're working on neck and shoulders, right? We're not getting in. No. You guys are pros now, so you're all ready to get into our back bend. When we do the upper thoracics, then we can do hammock in that position. This is too long. So from here, what we're going to do is just tuck our chin into our chest and press the back of the head into the leg loop. I like to lift the hips slightly to get a stretch. Now, you guys know that we can also spread out the swing if you feel like you need a little bit more support through the rib cage. So there are different ways to adjust this to make it comfortable, especially for newbies. Newbies can actually sit in the whole swing, and you can pull it down underneath the bum. The other position I like to do here for the neck, especially if somebody has neck injury or neck pain, is to reach up and hold on to the leg loop. You can even hook your fingers into the top of the nub so that the weight is fully supported, so their head's not holding their entire body weight. So hands hanging to the side would be the most intense version, right? And then holding on to the leg loop would lighten the load, as they say. Chin tucked into the chest is an important factor, as well as spreading the swing, spreading the leg loop out so it covers the entire length of the ear. So this pose we've actually learned in AYP, and most people love it for the neck. So it tends to work out really well. There will be some people who don't like it, and they tend to like training wheels better than feeling like they're floating and fully supporting their weight with their head. Any other variations you guys want to do here? That all make sense? Okay. All right. C7 joint. Hammock also works well for this pose. Let's go ahead and now we can put on, let's go ahead and change sides. So we're going to take that leg loop off, extend both legs, and we'll work on the C7 joint with the other hammock, the other side of the hammock. So Heather, don't worry about it if you're in the video. Just kind of do your thing, and we'll work with it. Okay, so we first go behind the back of the neck. So left leg loop is going to go underneath both arms. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the C7 joint, and we just happen to be in this pose. Spread it out. Get your butt in there. Why not? Okay. Spread the swing out.
Oh, this one?
Yeah. Don't get your butt in the leg loop, please. Bob. Even if it's tiny, you can still use the swing. Okay, good. Just notice the difference in the pose now. It's just much more restorative, much more relaxed. So the swing is behind the back, underneath both arms, Julia. Oh. We did the neck, so the leg loop is it's helpful when I say it correctly for you, isn't it? Okay, good. So now we're going to focus on the C7 joint. This is a really big issue for people, and the main issue for this major hub of the body has to do with how open the chest is. Most people, when they come to me for body work, they want me to dig into the back of the body to release it. It's coming from the front of the body. Mm-hmm. So this is our first attempt to really open up into a supported back bend in a way that feels really comfortable and safe for our people. So what I'm going to do is the same thing where I'm clasping my hands behind the occipital ridge and I'm pulling up and out so that vertebrae has a little bit more support and space. Now I can decide how far I'm going to go with how much lift of the hips I give in the pose. So if my hips are heavy, I don't have to go too far, but I'm getting a nice arch in the upper thoracic spine. Do you guys feel that? Mm-hmm. So with the swing underneath us, we're not pushing our hips up very much. And what we're focusing on is the up and out. Yeah, if you feel like you ride up too high, just come to sit, which is the good news, and then come back into it. So in this pose, our arms are working to get that lift and that tractioning and that space and a little bit, elbows flaring out wide, a little bit of arch in the upper thoracic spine. If your person feels comfortable pushing the hips up towards the sky, you can slide into a pretty deep, similar to a ladle pose here, and then release the arms out. This, of course, is going to get into the kidneys, so be careful with not overextending the rib cage. What we want to do is open up the heart. So they really have to be quite engaged through the upper thoracic to make sure the heart opens and not just the ribs. We can hold on to the leg loop like we did in stretching the neck and open up the front of the chest, the front of the neck, which is really incredible for the C7 joint. So it's almost like a flying monkey. Flying monkey is also really good for that. So bicep curl, come to sit, which is really nice about spreading the swing out, is when we're transitioning to our floating Buddha, we're fully in our swing, in our cocoon, and then we can just hold our body weight and come into a resting position here. So hammock is a great restorative pose, and it allows us to visit our cocoon. So in our cocoon, you guys all here with me?
Yeah.
Yeah, wigglers, a bunch of wigglers. Okay, so Julia, just get a little bit more under your bum. So I don't teach this in the AYP, but what we're going to do, if you guys can just look up and see me for a second, we are going to bunch the swing up behind the back of the neck, okay? And we are going to allow ourselves to kind of like use the swing in this pose to traction a little bit more space there. So we don't tuck our chin towards the sky. We keep our chin tucked into our chest. It's a really important factor. This is why I don't teach it as a restorative in AYP, is because most people will kink their neck, right, and let their head go. And that is no bueno. We have to get the swing to red up as high as possible, but still hook the occipital ridge. And then it creates a little pull and a little traction in there. It's like a little lift, right? Does that feel good?
Yeah.
Awesome. So if you are working one-on-one with somebody, or if they're kind of more experienced in the swing, then you can use the back edge of the swing to lift the occipital ridge. Right, like this. This would be particularly good for Alyssa to do, because she can't hang in the swing because it tucks her chin in too much. But I don't really teach this in a classroom setting. And I work more one-on-one with people. And then what I would do, just stay where you are. I'm going to just show you, because we'll do this in our YOGASSAGE as well. You can special treatment. So I will come behind them, and I just do just a little bit of lift here, like assisting the swing to get a little bit deeper into the space. So it feels really good to just keep one hand on the back of the neck and the other hand on the forehead, so you get that straight lift. Just go underneath a little bit more like that. Yeah, there we go. So it's not roughing.
Yeah.
It is just a gentle lift, like part of like a cranial sacral kind of practice that we would do to just open that up. Doesn't that feel good?
Yeah, it's really useful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's also very calming, especially with the hand on the forehead, to get the back of the neck open. Those are all kind of practices once we get somebody in the swing that we'll keep incorporating some of the YOGASSAGE positions. What's great is we can use the kind of momentum of the swing, or that buoyancy of the swing, to help us go deeper into the stretch without really doing very much, right? Nice. Feel good?